Okay, Darren, first of all then, looking back at Halifax, how do you reflect on that now a couple of days on?
I thought it was a good performance. I thought it was definitely an improved performance. I certainly enjoyed watching it a little bit more than I enjoyed watching the other 3 games. And there was definitely some. I thought we dominated the game. We were well and truly worthy winners. If we'd have taken those couple of really good chances, but I saw some really good things in the side, and I was very pleased. I was very pleased with their performance.
Yeah, I guess the challenge now from your point of view is turning the draws into wins. It's a simple question to ask you, how do you do that? But if you knew that, you'd be a millionaire, wouldn't you?
Nah. Look, it's just the way the season always unfolds. I don't think there's a part of the season ever, no matter what team you are and where you are in form or in the division, where you don't have certain spells of really great and certain spells of not so great and certain spells of absolute utter crap. So I think it's just part of the season. It's the kind of excuse me, the roller coaster of what a season is for managers, for players, but also for the supporters. And it's going to be even more a roller coaster for the supporters this year because because they're not in the ground, they don't get to feel the performance, the vibe, the spirit, all them sorts of things, good and bad, not just good. And I think it'll be an even sort of torturous experience from this year. But we're fine. We just needed to take those extra couple of chances when they came along, and I think second half, I was really pleased with the fact that we actually laid the ball in for our attacking players through, with just the goalie to beat. I've not seen that too often so far. But Charlie went through one-on-one, Albie went through one-on-one, Murphy went through one-on-one, obviously Doofus went through and scored. Staunton had probably our best chance in the first half off of a set play. Some promising things. But I said to the players after the game, I said, chaps, just please be a little bit more conscious of the fact that we're 10 days into a 40-week campaign. So let's just make sure that we keep a real eye on the horizon, because it's a long old season.
Yeah, you mentioned the fans there. Obviously they won't be present, but you have got a home draw in the 4th qualifying round of the FA Cup over at Hewish Park. What's your reaction to that draw?
I'm really boring with it. I don't really care. I don't really care because it's not Saturday. I'm sure, the week leading up to it, I love the FA Cup. I love what it's about. I'm an old-fashioned English football person. I love what goes on in the FA Cup. Last year we had a hell of an experience, didn't we, in the FA Cup, and not for the right reasons at that moment, but it's a wonderful competition. I think any game at home is of benefit, and I'm sure leading up to the game I'll be really pleased that we've not got to travel. Looking at the travel we've done so far, it was a 14-hour round trip to Kings Lynn. Halifax was 6 hours there, 6 hours back. I got back into my house at 5 a.m. Wednesday morning. A massive journey. So anything where we can be at home is a godsend, really.
And you're away again, of course, this Saturday, Dagenham Redbridge. What sort of game are you expecting?
It's going to feel like a local derby, Dagenham. It's only 3 hours away, not 24. Tough games. When you look at Dagenham before the season started, heavily recruited, very established sort of divisional players. I would have thought at significant cost. And they've assembled a very, very good squad. They're all tough. It's so weird without the supporters. I've got to say, I'm even missing them. I think I'll even miss being booed by the end of this. I mean, it's not having that interaction. It's really, really strange not having that that kind of support and encouragement. I can see why some other teams are benefiting from not having the supporters, but I just think with ours, they've been so good and so sort of energy, morale, performance boosting in the last 14 months, 15 months that it'd be fantastic to have them back on side and back in the ground again. It really would. But it was a tough game. I remember last year we only played them the once, but we played them at Dagenham, and I thought it was a really tough game. And we signed their best player off the back of his performance against us. So.
And how much of an advantage can it be having or drawing on the experience of your recent addition, Joe Quigley, coming in, his former club, of course? Will that be any help to you going into this game?
Only if Joe plays well. Only if Joe plays well and scores a goal, and that's the only help Joe can give us. It's all the inside information rubbish. It is absolute nonsense. People have got to go and play well on the day. They've got to perform. And it was nice to. I actually came out of the game Tuesday thinking that more players were going to enter a period of form than not, which is, if I'm being brutally honest and transparent, that's probably the first time I felt like that this year. But I look at Leadbitter's improvement game on game. Warburton I thought was terrific. Skendy looked stronger Tuesday than Saturday. Charlie I think is playing as well as he's ever played, and Wilkinson and Smith. So I came out with real hope. It was nice to be able to get Joe on the pitch and see some of his qualities close up. He's a player I've always admired, and even when he went on loan to Gillingham from Bournemouth the first time, it was a player that I admired and hoped that I could work with one day. So he's got good qualities, and he's got different qualities to us. He's had a bit of a difficult time, but I've always kind of prided myself on working with lads that need another chance, or they need some rehab, and in their game, and in their confidence and their state of mind. And I've always prided myself on that. You look at what we did with Murphy, and Courtney is a completely different animal now, and those types. Wilkinson to a certain extent, after what he experienced at his previous club. So I quite like this model, and I quite like the thought of working with Joe and getting the best out of Joe, because as we've seen at Yeovil, the supporters have seen at Yeovil over the years, Kiefer Moores, Tom Eaves, they may have not have done it in the year that they were with Yeovil, or the period they were with Yeovil, but they've gone on to have really good careers and moves and real positive sort of moments in their life based on the experiences they had at places like Yeovil. So Terry and I know that if we can crack it with Joe and maybe unlock a box that hasn't been unlocked yet, we know we're going to have a really, really terrific player at the club.
I don't know how closely you pay attention to your opponents in terms of what they've been doing this season, but Dagenham, they're not scoring that many goals, are they? Was it 2 so far in the league? Does that give you confidence going to teams that are finding goals hard to come by?
I didn't know. I didn't know that. I didn't know because I don't really look. Honestly, I think for me, right here, right now, I've got enough to work with in terms of my own players. We've got new players in the squad that need, obviously integration and need to know how we work, and so certain things that the lads who have been with me now for over a year will know automatically, and will be sort of ingrained in their thinking, in their bodies. But so I've got lots of work to do at this place, without having to worry about Dagenham's state. I thought they recruited heavily in the summer, and if those players they recruited are in form, they're going to be a very, very good side. And goals now, and how many they've scored now to how many they score at the end of the season. Again, we're 10 days in. It's really hard to predict anything. So. But I'm just looking forward to having another game, and that's what a good performance does. I think for you is that good performance gives you that enthusiasm, that courage, a little bit of inspiration to get back out there and see it again.
Yeah, and just finally for me, Darren, how are the squad looking ahead of the weekend in terms of on the treatment table and so on? Are you looking in good shape for the weekend, or as good as you could anticipate at this stage?
Courtney and Reece have had to. Reece came off with a bad calf on Tuesday. He needs some time yet. We need to assess that a little bit more thoroughly. But I'd say he's 50-50 for Saturday. Courtney came off with a problem, and we need to assess that. And I would say he is 50-50 for Saturday. So big part of the team right here, right now is in doubt. I think everyone else is good and strong. Lawson Diath, I don't think will make Saturday. On top of that, now I think we're good and strong. So yeah, just those three will be a doubts for us.
Well, good luck for the weekend, Darren. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Morning, Darren. How you doing? Or afternoon, I should say.
Afternoon, I'm good. You?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good.
You made a point on your post-match chat on Tuesday night that a big point at 10 days into a season which is 40 weeks old, or will be when you get to the end of it. And it reminds me of last season. A lot of people saying Notts County started very badly, but they were right up there when it came to it at the end of the season. Would you consider that's the same sort of situation you'd hope to be in?
Yeah, listen, absolutely. Unfortunately, you don't win leagues at the start. You win them at the end, or you don't get into the playoffs at the start. You have to be there at the end. And it's it's a long old campaign, this game, and it feels longer. I feel like maybe, again, being completely transparent here, being a little bit vulnerable really in what I'm going to say, but maybe even I started to buy into 3 games, no wins. And then when you sit back and think of it, 9 days in. But it didn't feel 9 days in, it felt 2-3 months in. It was a really weird feeling. Probably because of, obviously, lockdown. No one's really switched off. There's not anyone in the country that can probably say this year that they've switched off or had their break. Because there's been no break, there's been no reprieve. If there's not a worry or anxiety at work, there's definitely a worry or an anxiety with how this monster's taken over our lives. So it's a real weird one for me. It felt really odd. But when I sat back and all that travelling does give you a time to think. Other than that, you got to talk to Terry. So I do a lot of thinking. I don't like talking to him too much. But he's standing in the room. But it does make you think 10 days into 40 weeks. I mean, that's why even thinking now about Dover in the FA Cup is just seems like a lifetime away for me. But I think as we'll pick up our performances, and we're always going to pick up our performances, and we're always going to pick up wins because the spirit of the players, quality of the coaching, all these sorts of things, they all end up meeting together at some point. And and when we do, I'll probably be in everyone's good books again, and no one will hate me.
I'm sure they don't hate you. I'm sure they don't hate you.
Terry does.
So Terry does it, does it?
Hey!
So what do you put the improvement down to? Is it just confidence? Is it
my
training,
coaching?
more match fitness?
My coaching.
Your coaching?
No. Look, it's just it is like a season's performances are always periodic, aren't they? No one really goes through that whole season playing well. Sometimes you start well, then you're poor, and everyone has a wobble because you're poor. And then you pick it back up, and then you're poor, and then you pick it back up, and so on and so forth. For me, if we'd have left last season, let's put it in a Premier League context. If we'd have left last season, where Liverpool, who were unbelievably good, unbelievably well managed, everything was just top draw. Would anyone have said that they would get beat 7-2 by Aston Villa? Not a chance. Absolutely not a chance. So, it's these things are just unexpected, and sometimes it comes after the best week's training. Sometimes it comes after the worst week's training. Sometimes your best performances come after your worst week. Sometimes you score your most goals. we already alluded to Dagenham and goal scoring. Sometimes you score loads in one go. You just can't ever sort of second guess or predict, because we're human beings, and human beings aren't robots. We haven't got a consistency to our behaviour 100% of the time. So I thought the players were terrifically brave. You know, definitely saw an increase in courage, you know, commitment. Not commitment like cut your head, get a bandage, blood-soaked bandage. Not that commitment, but a commitment to wanting to play and pass, which has always been we've always tried to make it our mantra. But, you know, I just thought they played well. And, you know, hopefully they'll take those lessons learned, you know, into Saturday, and we'll have as good a performance, if not better.
You've got two new strikers in there, so you've got Courtney and Reese as well. Would you say when you bring those two, I mean, are they sort of two individual pairs of strikers, and they're going to have a different style to the team when you've got the other two on, sort of thing?
Sorry lads, hold on. Can you see me? Sorry.
Yeah.
Let me get rid of this. I think whenever I look at my forwards, and I did this last year, when in my recruitment, I always try and look to bring in another quality, a different quality. So we all know Murph's qualities in his goal scoring, his finishing ability. We all know Courtney's athleticism is absolutely scary. Best pair of legs I've ever seen. I mean, if Carlsberg made football legs, they would make them like Courtney. You know, that incredible athlete. You know, I thought with Warburton's so clever, so smart, very mischievous in the way he kind of ducks in and out of spaces, and he moves the ball around players. I really like that. And obviously with Joe's physical presence naturally sort of lends itself to being more of a sort of a board to play off of, a foundation to play off of, and we've been missing that since we had Goldie here, and for me the best one was Mark Richards, even though he wasn't a huge player in terms of size. His play off him was just fantastic. I mean, he was a really, really good player, Mark. So I always thought we needed one. I always think you need one of those. Even if, let's go back to my favourite one, and you'll all know it, when people talk about plan Bs and things like that. But they do allow you to provide the ball into different areas in different ways. So, I thought Joe was very much needed, and Warburton, as probably everyone can see, is going to be a very, very good player for us.
Finally, I know that the club's spending a lot of money on having COVID testing. Generally in football, there seems to be a slight increase in footballers in particular coming out with it. Are you thankful that it hasn't affected the club, and hopefully what will be the outcome if it did? I mean, obviously you lose the player, but I mean, is it going to have an effect on the rest of the squad if you did suddenly get one? Well,
I think there's two things here. There's two kind of elements to address. One is when you talked about the financing of the testing. If you go back to that, we all know that the government agreed a package for National League clubs and below to try and get us through this period. If I try and sit in Scott's seat for 1 minute, he's not had any income for another 4 weeks. It's incredible. The season started, and we're still another 4 weeks down the line, and we still haven't had any income. I mean, it's an unbelievable show of strength from our owner that we're still here. What business survives without income? It's just incredible.
Well, they don't, do they?
So again, I have to take my hat off to the guy, because he's all got us kind of in the palm of his hand, and all of our needs and responsibilities that we all have as adults, dads, husbands, and he carries that burden unbelievably well, and he never ever moans or groans to me about it, just solid and strong. So I think that's one of the elements to address with COVID, because it is such a massive part of our business, or our ability to trade. More importantly, the other thing with the testing and positive tests and things. Someone's going to get it in our team. We're all going to get it. 90% of this country are going to have to go through getting this illness, this horrible illness, and we'll be, some will be not very poorly, and some are going to be very, very poorly, and we're going to have to deal with that as it happens. At the moment, we are in a pretty tight knit bubble. I have to try and explain regularly to the players their responsibilities away from the football club, but we've all seen at the very, very top level that human beings are human beings, whether they make conscious or unconscious errors. I mean, England internationals having surprise birthday parties before they meet up for international duty. Playing Dagenham away is enough for me to try and keep out the way of anyone I don't know. Why isn't playing for England enough to keep you disciplined and focused? So, because of these, the kind of the fragile nature of our behaviour as humans, we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to spread this beast everywhere. And it's not a matter of if Aid that one of us get it. It's a matter of when. There's no stopping this thing. So until that point, we just try and live as properly as we can, and as hygienic as we can, as sanitised environments as possible, and like, just, I don't know, fold our legs, cross our hands, and pray for dear life. But it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen to every team. Every team is gonna have to go through it. Definitely.
No other signings on the way or anything, or is that not necessarily the case?
No, Terry and I are still trying to be creative. I actually quite enjoyed the last, the Premier League window's obviously under 48 hours now from finishing, and whatever we do, Terry and I are going to be calling in favours from friends who we think owe us over from over the years. But we're not proud when it comes to that. We phone up and we think we can provide a really good service for a young person, for a young up and coming player, or a player that's out of favour, player that needs to get a new chance or something like that. Similar to Joe, similar to what we've done with Joe, really. But we're lucky that obviously my background is heavily in development, and I've done okay in that field. And Terry, obviously, over the years as manager or as an assistant, has had some unbelievable successes at Yeovil. The Corkers and Masons and players like that, Abekers. I'm sure you've got a whole list of them. But because of that, we're not a bad option for bigger clubs to try and send their young players. So we're trying to be as creative as possible, and trying to help Scott out at the same time, and ensure this club is, we don't put this club any further in danger, really.
Thanks, Darren. Brilliant.
Thanks, mate.
How you doing, Darren? You okay?
Yeah, good, Paul. You?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. You mentioned before the season started you were mindful of getting suspensions and injuries with the depth of the squad. With the fact that Ryan Burke's already got 3 yellow cards, is that a worry for you, or is that just his experience since
It's funny, because the last conversation I had before this press was with Ryan Burke, and listen, I love that lad. I mean, he's like a man after my own heart. He has got zero filter when he tackles. It is incredible. I don't think I've ever seen a teenager play first team football and I've had to calm him down most of the time. He's been brilliant, and it's all part of learning. And this is why, again, young players do come out to places like us, because they're learning on our time. They're learning so the manager at Birmingham doesn't have to go through those problems if and when he wants Berkey to play for him. And he's going to have to learn, but I do have fun watching him. I mean, he is an absolute car crash at times. He flies in. He's got no He's got no sort of sense of this might be a problem. It's just head down and flies in. But he's brilliant. I feel like giving the right back Saturday, who I actually know, I feel like giving him a crash helmet before the game. But he's been terrific, absolutely terrific, and I'm sure when he is suspended, I won't be laughing and giggling and mocking it. But I do like this about young players. They do come in and surprise you. But even on his first day, I paired him up with Murphy and some attacking and defending duels, and he stuck Murph on his backside every time. He's so aggressive. Hey, are you going to carry on doing that? You're getting on my nerves now.
Sorry, Ben, I switched my microphone off. It must be coming through the, what's the name?
My life.
iPad. Sorry.
You doing an advert for Benson and Edges or something?
Yeah, that's it.
Right, so, but yeah, so, injuries so far, we've, touch wood, we've been okay. And suspensions, obviously, we're only a few games in, but if Burke, if he carries on, he'll be suspended in 5 days. So, but listen, we love him. We love having him.
I suppose the additions of the two new strikers, do you feel now your squad is more rounded, whether or not you get any more in or not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the squad was so small. I mean, two made a huge difference. I mean, a huge difference. And that will help us. And they're, Warburton is he's a man. He's got life experience. Got lots of experience of playing. He's hungry, so determined, so bright and intelligent. And Joe's the same. He's a younger player. And the squad is younger. I mean, the squad is much younger than last year. Much younger. And hopefully with that we will get some. We might get a bit better athletic performance. We'll get some hunger, for people to have great careers and lives, because that's the position they're in. They're trying to build them. But on the flip side, you get naivety and inexperience. So there's positives and negatives to that one. But what we can only do, Scott and I, is try and collate the best group of players that are available to us at the resources that we're capable of offering. And we'll always do that. There's players that we've said no to repeatedly that are, league players, but don't feel it's the right fit for us. And then there's lads that are 2 or 3 leagues lower that I'd have loved to have signed, but I've been outpriced by teams 2 or 3 leagues lower than us. So, you've always got to try and observe and assess where the squad is. It definitely needed a new character in the dressing room. At the end of last week, and Warburton definitely gave us that, and Joe coming in, he'll be the same sort of impact, I'm sure.
Lovely, that's all from me, Darren. Thank you very much.
Cheers, folks.